Finally, we have our second and third teams that make the playoffs. It's taken a while. It's been an extraordinary league phase of this year's tournament. But after this game between Delhi and Bangalore, we know now that Delhi will play the Mumbai Indians in a clash of the top two in qualifier one. They finish on 16 points. Bangalore, well, the wheels did come off, but they've going to reap the rewards of some good work done in the early parts of the tournament. 14 points and a better net run rate than the Kolkata Knight Riders will ensure their qualification as well. They're going to go into the eliminator and await the result of tomorrow to see if they play Hyderabad or Kolkata. It's a game to discuss on Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout, powered by Dell. Tom Moody is here. So too is Akash Chopra. And I'd like to get just their first thoughts on the game that we've seen, because I was hoping for a real cracker-jacker of a game with the highest quality and intensity of cricket. As it turns out, the handshakes at the end of it, or the fist bumps, would be quite calm and quite happy for both teams. Tom?
Yeah, look, it was not what you'd call a particularly high standard game of cricket, was it? I think both teams were going into the contest concerned about their form, concerned about what they had done over the recent past. And there's a lot of individuals that were, also trying to find some sort of form at this critical time of the tournament. And I think that was very obvious with the game, with the way the game was played. I think the surface itself, I thought, was a good surface. To me, it looked like at least a 170 surface. RCB failed to get close to that, and Delhi in pursuit of those runs looked like they were cruising, but again they showed signs that they could easily slip up.
Good. Did you sense that from start to finish, right, from the choice of team that Delhi chose to the approach that Bangalore went with after losing the toss, that there was an element of caution almost throughout from the top and tail of this game?
And you won't be surprised if that is the case, to be honest, Ronak, because this is a long tournament, 14 games. You know that at one stage, in fact, about 2 weeks ago, you thought that you will walk into the playoffs. And now suddenly it was all hinging on one result. So there was certain amount of caution and sort of a slight conservative approach as well from both sides. I expected a bit more from, to be honest, RCB, because they were batting first. So they had to make a case. They had to push the envelope a little, which they did not. And then DC have their own problems to address. They played Rahane because their batting is not firing. Prithvi Shaw again gets out. I was particularly disappointed with the way Shreyas Iyer got out, because you are now getting into the playoffs. Victory was almost done and dusted. It was just a formality when he got dismissed. There was no reason for him to get dismissed playing a shot like that. So there are areas of concern. There are obvious areas, but at least one team can walk away thinking that, Shikhar is back in form, or rather that the blip is over. And Rahane, the guy we played, has got runs under his belt. So there is some amount of positivity, and of course, finishing at number 2, so you get 2 bites of the cherry.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into our 5-point review and we discuss all the different stories from the first and second innings, Tom, did it anyway strike you today, at least from RCB, that the primary aim was to qualify? It didn't matter whether you finish in the top 2, which we look at as a significant advantage, or whether you lose the game, so long as you don't fall behind KKR, you don't leave it to the last. Did you in any way feel that was the impression you were getting?
I'd be very, very surprised. It certainly wasn't the impression I got. The prize is too big to have any sort of thought along those lines. To finish up in that top 2 is a significant advantage. It allows you one little hiccup in that first round of finals for you to recover and come back and have another go. I doubt very much whether they were playing for second or third prize.
Does it in any way make a difference, Akash, that RCB will now enter into the eliminator having lost 4 on the trot, whereas Delhi at least psychologically have snapped that losing streak?
It makes a lot of difference. Of course, you will still pep yourself up and say that we are here. So it is a result of what we have done so far and all of that. But it is a significant disadvantage that you've not won a game. In the last 4 games, you've not won a single game. The last time you won was about 2.5 weeks ago. So you've lost that magic formula to win. Something that was working well is not working well. And now you know that this is a knockout game that you will be playing. It depends who you're up against. But it does hurt you a little. But then, getting to the next stage is far more important than thinking about whether We have lost 4 on the bounce. You always believe that you can turn it around. And to be honest, in this team, we're looking at AB de Villiers, Virat Kohli. Once again, we'll talk about the same thing, previewing that game. That if these two guys come to the party, they can beat any team on their day. So these two guys, when they come to the party, they come to the party. It doesn't matter what has happened in the last 4 games.
Just on that, before I go to it, I put a tweet to this, and this is how the non-cricketer, the fans tend to think, Tom. At any point in the chase, did the thought occur, or could the thought have come to Delhi? This game seems in the bag. Let's try and knock Bangalore out. Let's try and avoid an AB or a Kohli in a qualifier number 2. Does that at any point cross the minds of teams?
I think only if you get off to an absolute flyer, which they got off to a good start, but a conservative start. So if they got off to an absolute flyer and they, in one of those strategic timeouts, in the first strategic timeout, you could make that judgment and assessment and say, right, okay, let's win this in the 15th over or the 16th over. For many reasons, but I don't think you would think anything like that until you have suddenly found yourself in that position of advantage.
All right. Well, KKR fans were hoping Delhi thought that way, but they didn't. They had the 2 points to make, and they've secured a top 2 spot. Let's go to our 5-point review of this game, and let's start with the middle overs. Akash, after a steady start that Padikkal was around, there were about 8 overs that went at a runner ball with just the loss of Kohli's wicket. Was that a key phase of the first innings?
It was a very important phase, and I think the middle phase of a T20 innings is grossly underrated. Of course, Tom would know as a coach that this is the engine room of the T20 innings, and if you don't get it right, then you're just chasing shadows, and that's exactly what happened. Where there were 2 spinners bowling on a good surface, and you were not aggressive enough. And it came from both ends. It's not just about Devdutt Padikkal who had the start. Virat Kohli also was just going at runner ball. He tried once, got dropped, and the innings just could not get going. And it does hurt you in the end because no matter who's to follow, that's AB de Villiers. But look at the opponent's bowling attack as well. And also the fact that if you don't go after their primary 5 bowlers, the 6th bowler does not come into the picture, and therefore Stoinis does not bowl.
You were particularly critical of the fact that they allowed both spinners to bowl their 8 overs, including an Ashwin who's just gone for returns of 1 for 18 of his 4 overs, Tom.
Yeah, look, I think you need to be a lot more creative. They would have known exactly how those overs were going to play out, and they would have discussed it. To me, as I mentioned at the end of that innings, I just felt that it didn't appear that conversation was had around targeting certain bowlers. We all have different strengths, we all have different preferences, and there was an advantage at the crease at that time. There was a left and right hander, so generally with spinners, if you've got that combination at the crease, there's always a batsman that has a preferred option against one of those spinners. And, you need to be targeting in those middle overs at least 1 boundary and over to accumulate the number of runs that you need.
As it turns out, even after that, we have seen AB do freaky things, Akash. So the fact that Nokia struck twice in the 16th over, Rabada ensured Shivam Dube's little cameo didn't go on longer. So Nokia and Rabada just making sure that the target was one within reach. Important phase?
Oh, yes, and you have those kind of bowlers. So this whole Delhi lineup was built around the 3 fast bowlers, out of which Nokia and Rabada have been exceptional throughout the tournament. Daniel Sams, of course, was playing his 2nd game, and therefore he was not even trusted with the responsibility of bowling the 19th and the 20th over. He was expensive. He got targeted a little, but the other 2, good luck to you if you're thinking that you are going to target them and take them for 20 run overs, 19th and 20th, and that's 40 runs in 2 overs. That does not happen every night. So when you're planning that way and you're not targeting the middle overs, you're not making the most of them, then you're putting yourself under tremendous pressure, and that's what happened in the end. Shivam Dube cameo, I thought, was fantastic for the cause, got them over the line, so to speak, and that may have actually allowed them to qualify in the end. Hindsight is perfect vision, but it's unlikely that you can go for 20, 23 overs or 20 each when you've got this kind of bowling attack.
After a couple of rare off days for Rabada, 5 wickets between him and Anrik Nokia, it was important to ensure that they didn't undo the good work by the spinners.
Sorry, I didn't pick that up.
That's all right, Tom. I think there's a beep. Someone's calling you. Something's ready in the microwave. But anyway,
I'm not sure what it is.
I'll come back to it. Nokia and Rabada, 5 wickets between them. after 2 off days for Rabada. So important phase to not let the hard work by the spinners get undone.
Yeah, look, both the pace bowlers were excellent. I think between them they went for 63 runs for those five wickets. So I agree with Akash in that you need to recognise certain areas of bowling attacks that you need to target and take full advantage of. And it was quite clear that there was uncertainty in their approach.
As we talk about the chase, there's been uncertainty in the Delhi batting lineup, Tom, and Shikhar Dhawan finally regaining some form and playing that senior player innings. That was massive, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, Shikhar Dhawan's a quality player. He does it year in, year out. He's always in that right up at the top end of leading run scorers of the tournament. Yes, he has a couple of outs, but so does everyone. But, more significantly, when Shikhar Dhawan gets in, he generally goes big. He doesn't get those 20s and 30s. He either gets very few or he gets a lot. And, that's a significant advantage for a top order player because by getting a lot, you're actually influencing the game. And for Rahane also to join the party and find form, that was a critical moment for Delhi because, again, another experienced player going into finals cricket with some form under their belt, particularly with the concern over Prithvi Shaw.
Yeah, after the wicket of Shaw fell, Akash, in the second over, just the perfect pair, you think, to settle the nerves of the dugout.
Yes, and when you think about Ajinkya Rahane, this was the kind of total as well that suits his style of play. So if they were chasing 180, 190, Ajinkya Rahane might have played a different brand of innings, something that doesn't come naturally to him. And that's what we've seen so far because he replaced Prithvi Shaw. We saw him going hell for leather even before he was set. But that's not the Ajinkya Rahane we know. That's not the Ajinkya Rahane that scores runs. Even in T20 cricket, he needs time. And today, time was not a luxury. It was there for you to consume. And Shikhar Dhawan, as Tom says, he's too good a player to just continue failing. 2 centuries, they're not a fluke, of course. If you're scoring 2 T20 centuries in back-to-back games, you have that pedigree, you have that class. It's only about just getting a decent start once again. And it happened. I'm very happy that now it seems that this campaign was getting completely derailed, and it's come back to some amount of comfort with not Prithvi Shaw, actually, Shikhar Dhawan and Ajinkya Rahane getting runs.
Right, on that point now, as we look at takeaways for both teams that have now qualified, Tom, would you say Delhi's team changes in this last league game have been vindicated? Is it something that you think they now carry forward to the first qualifier, keeping Rahane in that team, keeping Daniel Sams in that team?
I think they're going to have a long, hard think about exactly what their best 11 is going to look like. And I think it depends on who they play. Oh, so we know who they're going to play.
Mumbai.
I think one thing they need to look at, and it'd be very interesting to see what decision they make, is on Prithvi Shaw. Do they reconsider that position with Rahane now in form and move the chairs a little bit by bringing in Hetmeyer again and then releasing Sams to the bench?
All right, Akash said maybe even Lamichandran could have been a mouth-watering prospect.
See, Ravichandran Ashwin, after finishing his quota of 4 overs, actually walked out and he did not field after that. It is reported that he's got something with his hammy. So if that is the case, they might be forced to make a change. And if that's the kind of change that's in the offing, you might see Sandeep Lamichandran play because you need 2 spinners and they don't have anybody left in the dugout. There was Amit Mishra who's no longer there. So they may have to play Sandeep Lamichandran, play Harshal Patel and let the batting lineup be the way it is. Don't change too much there because the moment you bring in Hetmeyer or they also have Chemo Paul, I think you'll have to again tinker with the batting lineup, just the batting order. So order is something that will be very interesting to see. I think Prithvi Shaw will be persisted with. Now that they have taken that call, I think he's playing as long as they play.
All right, finally, a takeaway for RCB ahead of the playoffs. Most immediate area that needs rectification or improvement for you, Akash?
You need to change the approach. Now, how can that happen? Do you change the personnel, or is it possible to change the approach with the same personnel? That's the question that they need to answer. I still feel there is merit in thinking about getting Washington Sundar to go up top, let him open, and get Moeen Ali in the middle order. in place of Joshua Philippe, so that there is some amount of batting after AB de Villiers, and that may just allow them to break free, because the conservative approach over a long period, I don't think that's the way to go. They might once again find themselves in a situation where their middle overs, there is Virat Kohli, there is AB to follow, and they just can't go hard because they're not sure who's to follow after AB de Villiers.
Tom?
Well, I think they've got one concern, haven't they, with Morris and his fitness. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with his situation. But I wouldn't go with Washington Sundar at the top of the order. I'd be swapping Josh Philippe with Moeen Ali at the top of the order. And that'd be the only change I would make if Morris is fit.
All right. That is something for them to consider, RCB and Delhi. It's amazing that we're talking about two teams that have finished second and now effectively third. And we're still talking about their potential team changes ahead of the playoffs. But it's been that kind of end to the league phase for Delhi Capitals and Royal Challengers Bangalore. If you look at the points table, they've both qualified. And that comes for the first time since 2009 that Delhi and Bangalore have qualified to the playoffs of the IPL. Courtesy Gaurav Sundaraman, our stats wizard, who's pointed this out. So it's new times, different times, new age of cricket. And we've seen Delhi and Bangalore join the playoffs for the first time together, at least, since 2009, the last time an entire IPL was played overseas. So that's a little nugget for you to enjoy yourselves until the playoffs come before us. Tom Moody is going to have a few last-minute texts to send to the Sunrisers dugout, so let's relieve him now about what needs to be done tomorrow against the Mumbai Indians. His heart, though, is with the Sunrisers. He's already said his gut maybe with the Mumbai Indians. Akash Chopra, it's been an absolute pleasure having you through the course of this year's IPL. The entire nation will see a lot more of you on our national coverage, but we will see more of you on Cricket Info very soon, Akash. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, Ronak.
Whirlpool presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 timeout powered by Dell. That's a wrap, and we will see you for build-up to the big one between Sunrisers and Mumbai Indians tomorrow. Bye-bye.